now today. Um, Someone told me that my voice was not audible um, for the past two videos, or not that much as it was not as loud as it could have been. But yeah, so today we're going to try the 4-6 method by Tetsu. It uses 20 grams of coffee to 300 grams of water. It's a pretty simple recipe, and I'll break it down as we go along. So that's 20 grams of coffee. Again, this method calls for a pretty coarse grind, and when I say coarse, I'm going to go one full rotation for my easy presso. Since it's a little darker roasted beans, what we're going to do is we're going to drop the temperature to 90 degrees as recommended by Tetsu. So he says around 88 to 92 is the ideal spot for dark roasted beans, whereas 96 for light roasted beans. So I'm just going to take the average, meet in the middle, and do 90 degrees. So that's 20 grams of beans ground, pretty coarse. If you can see, it is pretty coarse. So that's done. Now we're going to take our filter. So I'll repeat the recipe. It's 20 grams of coffee to 300 grams of water. Again, this is a pulse pour recipe similar to Hoffman V1. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to wet this filter here. So we have our filter wetted, and the water is heating up to 90 degrees Celsius. So that's there. Let's discard this water. There's really no fuss about this recipe. It's a pretty simple recipe. It's pretty simple to track as well. It's a very beginner friendly recipe. I used to do this when I just got into coffee. My first few pour overs were a 4-6 pour over. It's just that because this method works really well with grinders that produce a lot of fines, because you have to go really coarse anyways. So you're going to balance out the flavor profile as compared to like other grinders which have a better distribution. So I'm just going to flatten this out. So that's 20 grams in, and we're going to start pouring. So the first pour will be 3 times the dosage, that is 60 grams. I'm going to do a very gentle pour and aim to get in around 10 seconds. So that's 60 grams. And now we're going to wait for 45 seconds, and we're going to do every 45 seconds we're going to do a 3 times pour. So that would be 60 grams in this case because we have 20 grams of coffee. So 20 into 3 is 60, and we're going to do 5 pours every 45 seconds. So we are now really up to 45. Okay. You're going to go really slow on your pours as well. Do not agitate the bed much. So what you can do is you can modify with your pour structure. The coarser you go, the more pours you make, basically maximum 5. If you go a little finer, you can dial down the strength. So the last 3 pours control the strength, whereas the first 2 pours control the acidity and the sweetness of the body, sweetness of the coffee. So what you want to do is, if it's something that you want to highlight the acidity, you want to go more on the first pour, and if you want to highlight the sweetness, you want to go more on the second pour. So for sweetness, I would do something like 50 in the first pour or 40 in the first pour, and the remaining, that is 80 in the next pour. That is going to bring out more sweetness. Whereas if I want to do more acidity, acid forward cups, I would do like 70 or 60 in the first pour, and 70 and 50 in the next pour. So yeah, you can just play around with that. This is my 4th pour. I am at around 215 now, and that's 240, and at 3-minute mark we're going to do the last pour for the last 60. So the last 3 pours of 60 each controls the strength. So what you want to do is, if you think that the body has a lot of strength, or you don't want so much strength in your coffee, you can reduce the number of pours and pour it into 2 equal parts, or just 1 single pour for the last 60% of the water. So that's 300. So your drawdown should ideally finish pretty quickly. You should have a relatively flatter bed. It's almost flat. It's like not relatively flat, so it's flat, and you should finish around 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So the thing you have to understand with Tetsu's method is it works great with coarser grinds, just because you're agitating the bed of the coffee a lot more. You're churning that bed again and again and again. So a lot of fines migration might happen. So that's why it's better. You will get a much cleaner cup when you have a better better grinder. But if you don't have a better grinder, what you will end up getting is you can get good cups because you're not agitating so much and you're going so coarse. So if you have a grinder that produces a lot of fines, I would advise you to pour really slowly, so that you don't agitate the fines as much. needs to cool down a little bit. We're again going to use, just going to preheat my cup. If you find that the brew falls a little flat or is a little watery, you can adjust your grind size. But I've seen that like a coarse grind size works pretty good. You really don't have to dial this in as much because mainly this was made to brew with a little bit of darker roasted beans. For lighter roasted beans, you would have to dial, like grind it a little finer. So there's not a lot of bitterness at all as compared to the last brew that we did with the same coffee coming through. It's a pretty clean cup. It's an enjoyable cup also. The thing, what I found with the 4-6 method is you really don't get a lot of clarity in your brew. It can make good brews. I mean, you'll be able to enjoy your coffee. It's not that. It's just that you'll not get any, any notes or flavors much out of it. It's going to kind of be a little on the muddier side, like just blended. Muddier is the wrong word. Just a blended flavor composition. So you'll not get much, like if you're expecting like strawberries to come through your brew, yeah, that's not going to happen. But this brew can be pretty good. Like you'll enjoy the complexity of the coffee. You'll enjoy the flavor profiles of the coffee. But yeah, it's not going to be like clear as you would like it to be. This is a much better brew than the one that we made in the previous one. Like I said, the previous one was ground a little bit finer. I did a brew later on in that day with a couple of clicks coarser, and it did well. It reduced the bitterness. It brought out some acidity and the sweetness from the coffee. So it was a pretty good brew. I could understand there was a clear flavor separation amongst the chocolates and the berries a little bit more. But this is a pretty good brew as well. Right. Thanks for joining in. This was also a fun little experiment of how different recipes compare as on the same coffee. You can do this at your home. Brew the same coffee with recipe 1, brew the same coffee with recipe 2, and find the difference. And it would be very interesting to do, so you would get to know like how coffee performs under like different recipes, different temperatures, different grind sizes and whatnot. All right, thanks for joining in.